Good morning and welcome to the Michiana Area Council of Governments Transportation Technical Advisory Committee. I am Jessica Clark, the chairman of the committee. We're going to call our May 6th meeting to order. Do we have a quorum?
In order to determine a quorum, because we have a number of folks on, I know that we have a quorum, but I do want to identify everyone that's here. So we do have a quorum. So that's comprised, and if I miss anyone, please jump in and let me know that I've missed you. We have Jessica Clark, Steve Moriarty, Amy Hill. We have Rick Gall, Bill Holder. We have Ryan Fellows. We have Jeremy Skinner, Derek Spear, Brent Warren. Are there any other folks who are members of the Technical Advisory Committee who I have missed who may be joining us by phone?
Chris Dressel, City of South Bend.
All right, Chris Dressel.
Kyle Sylvius from the City of South Bend.
All right, Natasha, do you want to go now?
Yeah, Natasha Kaufman, Elkhart County Planning.
Great, thank you.
Charlie McKenzie, Elkhart County.
All right.
Jessica Miller with that.
All right, Jessica Miller. We have Ty Adley joining us. Is there anyone else on the line? Otherwise, we do have a quorum, so we can begin.
Thank you, James. We'll move into the minutes of March 4th. Do we have a motion for approval or any comments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
And again, please, if you would state your name as you make your motion so we may note for the record who did make those, even though I may have recognized the voices.
Motion to approve by Ryan Fellows.
Second by Ty Adley.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any not in favor, please say aye. Hearing none. Minutes approved. Move into reports. Mr. Secretary, would you care to go over our March and April administrative modifications?
The March and April modifications were sent out in advance of the meeting. They were sent to all members as well as being posted online. If anyone has any questions, we could take those now, or you can always contact staff to get more detailed questions answered. If there are no questions, then I would turn it back over to Jessica.
As a clarification, do we need to take any other formal action? Again, these were more for our informational purposes, correct?
Correct. Administrative modifications are for informational purposes. There are no actions that are needed by the advisory committee. You have the TTAC and the policy board have already given staff permission to essentially process these modifications without having to take any action. They're usually small technical corrections or clarifications, but that are not very substantive matters.
Thank you. Moving into new business within the Fort Wayne District, we have Resolution 14-20.
Hi, good morning. This is Ryan D. Lyon from MACOG. Jessica, this is actually we need to go over two items for old business.
Oh, pardon me.
No, it's okay. The first, both of these resolutions were passed under our setup to have emergency modifications processed through so that we don't have to wait till the formal meeting. But we do still need to go over them again so you have more details and so we can get your endorsement on those. So Resolution 1420 was a locally initiated project. It is for Elkhart County on Bridge 152. This is a bridge replacement, and this was to add right away to the TIP in 2020. If there's no questions in regards to Resolution 1420, I'd ask for your endorsement.
So moved. Brent Warren.
Seconded, Natasha Kaufman.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, Resolution 1420 is endorsed. Resolution 1520.
Resolution 1520 is sponsored by Goshen in the Fort Wayne District. This is for adding preliminary engineering into the TIP for fiscal year 2020. Excuse me. On College Avenue from US 33 to the east entrance parking lot just before the Norfolk Southern Railroad. Again, this has gone through an emergency amendment process, but still asking for your endorsements. If there are no questions, I'd ask for that now.
David Armstrong, so moved.
Ryan Fellows, second.
In a motion and a second, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, Resolution 1520 is endorsed. Now we'll move into new business. Fort Wayne District.
Resolution 1620 is again in Elkhart County. This was a NDOT roll call for 2025 project that was awarded. It's Bridge 145 on County Road 26 over Boggo Creek. This is the addition of PE and right-of-way into the TIP. One note on this project is its scope extends slightly beyond the rehabilitation of the bridge, and it will be to also correct the geometry of the road, so line of sight is better going westbound. And if there's no questions, I'd ask for your endorsement on Resolution 1620. Oh, you know what? Sorry. We have a few more on 1620. That was item A. Item B for Elkhart County is the removal of a project that was replaced by a local tracks project. MACOG had sponsored an overpass on County Road 13 at Norfolk Southern Railroad. This item is for the removal of the project from the Transportation Improvement Program. Finally, on Resolution 1620, we have item C, which is sponsored by Kosciuszko County. This was also awarded during the most recent NDOT roll call. It is for Bridge 30 on Beer Road over Turkey Creek, adding both PE and right-of-way into the TIP. So if there are no questions in regards to any of these items in Resolution 1620, I'd ask for your endorsement over the resolution.
So moved by Bill Holder, Kosciuszko County.
Second, Brent Warren, Napanee.
With a motion and a second, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, Resolution 1620 so endorsed. Move into Resolution 1720.
Resolution 1720 has two items. They're both on US 6. Item A begins at State Road 15 and goes to the west junction of US 33. And item B starts at the west junction of US 33 and goes to State Road 5. Both of these projects are for hot mix asphalt overlays under NDOT's preventative maintenance program. Both of these projects are also adding PE and construction into the TIP. That is Resolution 1720. If anybody has any questions, I can take them now, or I'd ask for your endorsement.
Motion to approve by Ryan Fellows.
Second, Kyle Sylvius, City of South Bend.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, Resolution 17-20 endorsed. Move into LaPorte District.
In the LaPorte District, we start with Resolution 1820. This is sponsored by South Bend. This is for their Olive Street project. It was broken into a second phase to deal with railroad coordination. So this is the addition of the project into the TIP, both preliminary engineering and construction. It runs from Indiana Court to Tucker Street. If anybody has any questions, I can take those. If not, I'd ask for your endorsement. Oh, sorry. Two more on 1820. Any questions on this one? No. So the item B on Resolution 1820 is sponsored by St. Joseph County. This, again, is an NDOT Rural Call 2025 awarded project. It is on the Mayflower Road Bridge over Norfolk Southern Railroad and the South Shore. This is for bridge repair and rehabilitation, and it's the addition of construction into the TIP. Item C under Resolution 1820 is in Marshall County. It is on Bridge 232 on Randolph Drive over Yellow Creek. This was also an award for the NDOT 2025 call. And then item D is also in Marshall County, and it is for the bridge rehabilitation or repair of Bridge 11 on North Union Road over Pine Creek. That is the four projects for Resolution 1820. If anybody has any questions, I can take those now. Otherwise, I'd ask for your endorsement.
So moved, Tadley.
Second, Ryan Fellows.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, Resolution 18-20 so endorsed. We'll move into Resolution 1920.
Resolution 1920 are NDOT projects in the LaPorte District, and item A for that is for a hot mix asphalt overlay on US 6 from the west junction of US 106, State Road 106 to the east junction of State Road 106. This is adding both preliminary engineering and construction into the TIP. Item B for Resolution 1920 is on State Road 331, and it is from the north junction of US 20 to Jefferson Avenue, also adding PE and construction into the TIP. Item C is the final item for Resolution 1920, and it is a hot mix asphalt overlay project on State Road 23 from Lawrence Street in Walkerton down to US 30. I'd ask for any questions now. Otherwise, if there are none, I'd ask for your endorsement.
Endorsed, Sterling Spear City, Mishawaka.
Second, Kyle Sylvius, City of South Bend.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, Resolution 1920 is endorsed. Move into Transit, Resolution 20-20.
This is Jeremiah Cox. My first agenda item is a transit-initiated project in the LaPorte district. For all of these items, A through L, the sponsor is Transpo. Item A is to decrease federal 5307 funding for preventive maintenance. Item B is increase 5307 federal funding for the purchase of ADA hardware. Item C is to decrease federal funding for Section 5307 transit operating for the purchase of ADA software. Item D is increase federal funding using 5307 funds for associated capital. Item E is increasing federal 5307 funding for ADA operating assistance. Item F is increasing federal funding for fixed route operating assistance using Section 5307 funds. Item G is decrease Section 5339 federal funds for the rehab renovation of a transfer facility. Item H is to add a 5307 project to the TIP for a tire lease program. Item I is adding a project to the TIP using 5307 funds for the purchase of miscellaneous support equipment. Item J is adding a project to the TIP for 5307 funds for education and training. Item K is adding a project to the TIP using 5307 funds for the purchase of a less than 35-foot vehicle. Item L is the purchase of miscellaneous communication equipment, adding a project to the TIP using Section 5307 funds. And that concludes Resolution 2020. If there are not any questions, I would like to ask for your endorsement of Resolution 2020 items A through L.
There are no other questions. Do we have a motion to endorse?
So moved, Natasha Kaufman.
David Armstrong, second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none. Resolution 20-20 endorsed.
Resolution 21-20 is the bus and rail apportionment for the South Bend urbanized area federal formula funds that were given to the South Bend urbanized area under the 2020 CARES Act. The urbanized area got a total of approximately $12.2 million, and the three transit agencies have decided to split this 5307 funding as follows: $3 million to NICDET, $8.5 million to Transpo, and $753,000 to Niles Dart. Are there any questions? If not, I would like to ask for your endorsement of Resolution 21-20.
Question with respect to the 2020 CARES Act. What is the time frame in which these improvements would be made for the funding received?
They can pretty much be as we already issued a preliminary letter, and these agencies have already started working on the grants to start receiving these funds. Primarily, the CARES Act was designed for operating funds. So, for example, even large agencies that normally can't use operating money for operating funds, all transit agencies are allowed to use these funds at 100% federal for operations due to the unique situation created by COVID-19 under the CARES Act.
Jessica, this is James as well. Additionally, to just add to Jeremiah's point, the FTA has also allowed all of the transit agencies to bill back all the way back to expenses that have occurred since January 20th regarding the emergency. So we tried to issue our letter as fast as we could so that the local transit agencies could program their grant and start to make sure that they had the additional funds on top of their normal allocation to be able to implement these projects, largely that are operating assistance based, but some minor capital projects may also occur. And so Amy's also on the phone with Transpo, so I don't know if she had any additional information that she would want to share on their particular funding.
Sure, this is Amy with Transpo. So we are already in the process of getting these dollars programmed and approved with the FTA. So we would hope to actually start receiving some of the funding in the next couple weeks. Primarily expenses will be used for operating, as mentioned, the additional expenses associated with COVID-19, but we'll also be able to utilize some of the funds for replacement vehicles as well.
Thank you. Good information. If there aren't any other questions, do we have a motion on Resolution 21-20?
So moved, Brent Warren.
Second, Kyle Sylvius.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, Resolution 21-20 endorsed. We can do Resolution 22-20.
Resolution 2220 is the second sort of portion of the South Bend Urbanized Area 2020 CARES Act appropriation that was made, that is for 5337 State of Good Repair funds. These funds can only be used by transit agencies that operate either rail or other fixed guideway types of operations. And the only eligible recipient of these funds in the South Bend Urbanized Area is the South Shore Line NICDET Rail. So we propose to use all just over $8 million of the 5337 funds we are apportioned. We wish to allow the South Shore Line to use these funds. If they're not, are there any questions? If not, I would like to ask for your endorsement of Resolution 22-20.
So moved, Ty Adley.
Second, Jessica Miller.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, Resolution 22-20 is so endorsed. We'll move into Resolution 23-20 for the Unified Planning Work Program.
Now over to you, James.
Thanks, Jeremiah. So the Resolution 23-20 is for two items, item A and B. They're both for funding the Partners for Clean Air program, which is funded with CMAQ funds. It would be $50,000 coming from the South Bend urbanized area and $50,000 coming from the Elkhart Goshen urbanized area. These funds are utilized for our Partners for Clean Air program, which is informing the public of different ways that they can voluntarily reduce their emissions, as well as then funding our Green Fleets program, which works with municipalities, local governments, and school districts, etc., on ways in which that they can consider greener and alternate fuels. And so this resolution 2320 is adding those projects to the Transportation Improvement Program. So item A is in South Bend Urban, and item B is in Elkhart Goshen urbanized area. If there are any questions, I could take those now. Otherwise, I'd be looking for your endorsement of Resolution 2320.
Do we have a motion?
Steve Moriarty, motion.
Natasha Kaufman,
Second.
seconded.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, Resolution 2320 endorsed. Our other actions, Resolution 2420. endorsement of the fiscal year 2021 Unified Planning Work Program.
Yes, thanks, Jessica. So ahead of the meeting, you all received a copy of the fiscal year 2021 Unified Planning of Work Program. Every year, MACOG puts together a work program for all of the funding that we receive from Federal Highway and FTA for planning purposes. And we put together what all those work activities will be. There are 7 major work elements that you could see in the table of contents. Were labeled 100, 200, all the way through 700. They offer an insight into the different work that we'll be doing throughout the fiscal year, which would start in July. Many of the activities are continuous activities. So if you saw them in the UPWP last year, you will probably see them again this year. There are the typical programs related to asset management or the transportation improvement program, maintaining the long range plan, our Partners for Clean Air program, as well as transit and active transportation planning. We are also then continuing the regional oblique orthoimagery program, where MACOG has worked with all 4 counties to fund pictometry flyovers to get ortho and aerial images, as well as then continuing our work with the smaller urban and rural areas as well that are outside of our urban area, where we receive additional funding through INDOT. A lot of very similar programs to the previous year. No major changes or deletions of programs. The overall funding program for the fiscal year 2021, all funds, so including the federal funds and then the local matches to all of those programs, would be $1,016,144 for just the federal side, I should say. And then when you factor in the match, it would be $1,270,180. So that's kind of a rundown of the UPWP. I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. If you do not have any questions, I'd be asking for your endorsement, and I'm going to extend a special caveat onto this endorsement that staff have the ability to make any minor alterations based on INDOT comments that are, not substantive, but more typographical or clarifications of work programs. This hasn't been approved by INDOT as of yet, so we still might have some minor corrections to make, but that is the one caveat I'm asking for the endorsement. If there are any questions, I could take those now. Otherwise, we'd be looking for that endorsement.
Thank you, James. Do we have any questions or a motion?
So moved, Natasha Kaufman.
Second, Tadley.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, resolution 24-20 endorsed. We'll move into staff update. Partners of Clean Air Award winners.
Hi, good morning. This is Leah Thill. I'm going to share about the Partners for Clean Air Award winners. As you know, we didn't have our annual awards luncheon this year, so on Earth Day, we announced our winners. The first is Wani Community Schools, and we honored them for their piloting of propane school buses. They purchased 8 propane school buses and have installed the fueling infrastructure for that. They actually were able, thanks to some grants that the Green Fleet program assisted with from Volkswagen and other sources, they were able to purchase buses for cheaper than they had in 10 years. So that was a great win for them. And then they also reduced their emissions by 95% for the buses that they replaced. The second award winner is the South Bend Green Corps program. That's a new AmeriCorps program that's pretty innovative. Volunteers have assisted over 125 households in South Bend with reducing their energy use 7 to 20%, and that's through direct energy efficiency interventions, as well as educating people, empowering them to understand their utility bills and better manage their energy and water use. Next slide. I have an update on the Volkswagen OnRoad and NonRoad grant program. That deadline has been extended through May 31st, so you still have a few weeks if you want to put a project together that you haven't been in contact with us about. There has been one significant change in project eligibility for this second round, unlike the first round. Diesel to diesel replacements, meaning taking an existing diesel and replacing it with new diesel, those are now only going to be permitted for school buses and refuse trucks. So your snowplow, your general short haul vehicles can no longer be eligible for that type of project. So that affects a number of applications that we put in last year. But other than that, if you have any ideas and you haven't had a chance to speak with us about that, your project idea, or you have questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll also connect you with South Shore Clean Cities to get that process moving. That's all for me.
Thanks, Leah. This is Jeremiah again, and I'm just going to provide a brief staff update on the Interurban Trolley's COVID-related service changes. Since the last week in March, the Interurban Trolley has operated using rear door boarding and has operated fare-free. This is to increase social distancing. And in addition, after Transpo on April 6th announced that they would be going to an all-day Saturday schedule in order to continue providing half-hourly service on the yellow line, we are actually now running alternate buses with Transpo that run all the way from the downtown Elkhart Transfer Center all the way to South Street Station in downtown South Bend via the Mishawaka Transfer Center. This was the best schedule option to supplement Transpo's weekday schedule. Overall ridership is down. We reached a low point a couple weeks ago. We were down 51%. Average weekday daily ridership to 788 rides from 1,500 just before. We've since rebounded slightly to 976 average daily rides last week. So but that's still about a 63% decrease on the trolley. If there are not any other questions, I'd like to move it on to Elena.
Good morning, this is Elena Parrish. I have a quick update on the League Cycling Instructor Seminar. MACOG, along with Bike Michigan Coalition and Purdue Extension, had received some funding in February to host this seminar to help increase the capacity to teach bicycle safety throughout the region. Due to the current circumstances, we're unable to host the previously scheduled seminar, which was for the month of June, but we're evaluating the ability to hold that in the fall. And ultimately, that decision will rest on the guidelines that we're following, national guidelines and local guidelines, and our ability to keep everyone safe for the seminar. So we will keep you updated as we learn more. Thank you.
Good morning, this is Caitlin Stevens, and I have just a few other staff updates. The first is an update regarding our Equitable Mobility Action Plan. We wrapped up countywide focus group meetings earlier this winter, and there were some key themes that came from those meetings, from some of the feedback that we gathered. Some of that revolves around the need for expanded or enhanced service. It could include things like night and weekend service, both for fixed route options as well as on-demand services. Several examples of new service that was recommended included a flexible fixed route in Marshall County, an additional Northern Goshen loop for their fixed route system, as well as the central dispatching system in Kosciuszko County. Additionally, some of the recommendations included improved accessibility through the addition of ADA compliant infrastructure, as well as ensuring that both pedestrians and bicyclists have a way to connect to transportation points. And so as we wrap up kind of the needs assessment for this plan, we're going to be moving into more of the strategies and identifying the policies, programs, and recommendations for how we can enhance transportation services in our region. Another item that we're working on is the Tactical Urbanism Lending Library. We're working to develop kind of a list of temporary materials that can be used for temporary projects for various improvements, including bump outs, traffic circles. So this will be a way to kind of test out projects before actually investing the funding into actually permanent infrastructure. And so currently we're developing our list of materials that we want to procure. So if you all have any projects in mind that you think this would be useful, or materials in mind that would be helpful for your municipality to implement projects, please reach out to myself or Elena. We'll hopefully be procuring those this year. And my last update regards signage on the Indiana-Michigan River Valley Trail. We are working with our consultant Merge to look at this particular trail in our region in order to implement some signage for both the regional Crossways Trails brand, as well as implementing some signage with the new RV2 logo. This kind of follows all of our work that was done in previous years regarding the brand and wayfinding signage guidelines. And so we're hoping that this will be a good first pilot project for others to view and experience in the region. And that is all I have for my staff update.
Jessica, this is James. I did have two minor items that I just wanted to share with the committee, if I could.
Please do so.
Okay. So first is that I wanted to make sure that the committee was aware that LTAP held a webinar the other day related to COVID-19 and local transportation funding. It was a very good webinar and pretty well attended, and it was focusing on looking at revenue sources from motor vehicle highway, local road and street, community crossings, and how the stay-at-home orders may have affected those different funding and kind of what to expect as you move forward. If you did not watch the live webinar, you can find it on Purdue LTAP's resources page. They have a whole COVID-19 resources page, and you can rewatch it there and get the slides and the Q&A. I would recommend that everyone who deals with transportation funding really take a look at that webinar to understand the potential impacts to transportation funding. As well as with funding, we've talked today about the CARES Act, which was passed by Congress. There was also then all sorts of funding included in the CARES Act, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. So in there, there was increased allocations for SNAP, as well as for FEMA, about $45 billion for FEMA. There was increased transportation provided, funding for transportation. There was $42 billion provided to aviation. I know Tim O'Donnell is on the phone with the airport. I think he missed the roll call at the beginning, but I'll identify that he's in this meeting. As well as then $26 billion for ground transportation, and that's 25 of that $26 billion is for the transit providers that we've kind of already talked about today. As well as then there's additional programs for small business, etc. The programs that I want to make sure that local governments are aware of is that the Community Development Block Grant Program received $5 billion. A lot of that will go towards the entitlement communities, the larger cities like South Bend or Goshen and those areas. But rural areas will also have the opportunity to apply for those funds through the Office of Community and Rural Affairs. So please keep an eye on that. As well, then EDA, the Economic Development Administration, received a $1.5 billion allocation. That is 5 times their normal annual allocation. So there is a large opportunity there for funding infrastructure projects that will help mitigate the issues with any local economic crisis or rebuild impacted industries. The notice of funding opportunity has not been made available yet, so we don't know what all the requirements are for that program. But we're definitely keeping an eye, and we've had many conversations with you all about potential projects that could be funded in that program. Lastly, USDA Rural Development did receive $145.5 million. That's divided into different tranches for different programs, like the Rural Business Program or they have a distance learning and telemedicine program as well. But 100 million of the 145 will be provided to the Reconnect pilot program, which is focused on broadband services. So wanted to make sure that you all were aware of the opportunities that were in the CARES Act program and how those may provide additional funding that could fund infrastructure or projects for your local government. So wanted to make sure that you're aware of those. Those were the two minor things that I wanted to share with you, Jessica.
I would assert those are major contributions, not minor, but thank you for that information.
Yeah, thanks.
At this time, we will open privilege of the floor to our TTAC members. I would ask if you'd utilize the chat box and just insert your name if you'd like to be recognized. If we have none, we will move into our public comment. Seeing none, the public comment portion of this meeting, we would appreciate any public that is listening in and have any questions or comments that they would submit those comments via email to macogdirector@macog.com. It's MACOGDIR@MACOG.com. And please note to add TTAC agenda comment in the subject line. And with that, we'd entertain yes, we have
sorry.
Joyce Doolin.
Joyce, I don't know if you would like to speak, but it is an item that we do need to mention. MACOG has a certification review every 4 years with the Federal Highway and FTA related to our planning program, the work that MACOG does as a metropolitan planning organization. And that is scheduled for 2020. As it has been since the beginning. It'll be June 16th and June 17th. It will be a little different this year. It is going to be more of a virtual experience, but Joyce, I didn't know if you wanted to share anything related to that as well.
Yes, thanks a lot. Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's safe and well. So Federal Highway and FTA will be virtually hosting the certification review, as James said, on June 16th and 17th. There will be 2 morning day sessions with a public opportunity to comment on June the 16th and also on June the 17th at 2 to 3 p.m. We're going to have another public opportunity and stakeholder comments, an opportunity for your comments. So please feel free to participate, and the agenda will be coming soon, and hopefully we'll have links in there. So all you have to do is we'll click on the links, and it should take you to the sessions. But that will be coming. We're working with MACOG and figuring out that virtual platform. So thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. If there are no other comments or information for today, we would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
O'Donnell, so moved.
We had a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Tadley.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Hearing none. Thank you for participating in today's TTAC meeting, and we are adjourned. Have a safe day.